You're watching Gears and Gasoline series
Track tested
with me, Kobe Shield.
The racetrack attracts egos, money, and BMW M cars. In this episode of Track Tested, we put 4 of them in Kobe's hands to get his impressions of the various generations of BMW's hottest street and track offerings.
So I'm here with my buddy Chase and his gorgeous E46 M3. And if you can't already tell, it's got a lot done to it. So this isn't just a standard E46 that we're bringing out.
So the story on the car was, it was a Facebook Marketplace find, stupid deal, Vanos was shot. And we picked it up thinking we were just gonna flip it real quick. Yeah. And we did the Vanos one weekend and we're like, I wanna go tear this thing up on the track before we sell it. And it's turned into this. So essentially, we pulled the whole interior out, threw a couple of the seats in, added the aero, did brakes at some point. Yeah. And then I think we kind of got bored with the car and then we did all the engine work. So it's a Turner airbox, 6-to-1 header, and then custom tune. Last time we dynoed it put down 342.
Okay.
And about, I think, 268 peak torque.
No, that's awesome. That's really healthy for these cars.
Yeah, it's a pretty healthy car. It's got about 160,000 miles on it now, and I think I've put in about 4,000 miles on it, pure track, in like the past handful of years, and it's been great.
That's great, man. So tell me about what suspension do you have on this? Is it coilovers or?
It's a very old ground control system.
Okay.
So I would say that's probably the part of the car that needs attention next, and then after that, I mean, it's going to be a good weekend ripper.
So I mean, the classic big BMW shifter.
I always had problem coming out of Oak Tree. I could never find the right gears.
Okay.
And I didn't want to money shift the car, right? So that's kind of where that came from. It's worked out great. And I would say the car's maybe like half stripped. Okay. The back's out. Yeah. I think it weighs about 2980 without me in it.
Okay. Gotcha. So it's light.
Pretty light.
That's awesome.
But that's about it, man. I mean, half cage, nothing crazy. Did all the big 3 to it, so it's bulletproof as much as it can be.
For everybody at home, this is on a more of a slick tire, right? So it's on Toyo. These are Toyo R's or Toyo RRs?
RRs.
Okay, so Toyo RRs. So they're a slick tire, but a slower slick. This car will by far have the most downforce out of the other cars, so it'll carry a good bit of min speed and be really quick in the top areas, up through the S's and things like that. So it should be really fun. The heel toe in these cars is so nice with the way the pedals are set up. It just makes it very enjoyable. All right, oil's come up a good bit. We're gonna start pushing a little bit, feel the car out. Understeers just slightly, but that's safe, which is good. Down to 4 through 10. Man, this car feels amazing. This is going to be a treat to drive for sure. Got some pretty aggressive front pads, so I don't want to overwhelm the ABS. So I just have to brake a little bit softer there. pushy in the high speed, but that's all right. So the only thing I really notice is the car is very naturally pushy. So we could make it bite a bit more in the high speed if we wanted to. The car's understeering. We can maybe make a slight tire pressure adjustment or something like that, but feels pretty good.
Kobe's main complaint with Chase's E46 is its tendency to push. The next car he'll drive will not have that same characteristic.
We are here with my friend Jim, and he has this absolutely gorgeous F87 M2. The coolest thing about this, it looks like an OEM Plus car. Like everything, it looks like it's a track car for sure, but you've kept the interior and everything else.
Exactly. That's how I really want to go about this car. I'm just trying to keep it OEM Plus, keep it as streetable as possible while having good handling dynamics, right? I want to maximize the mechanical grip. I don't want to add too much aero to it. I want to just a simple bolt-on car. I'm running an 18 by 10.5 square on 275/35 RE71 RSs. Like the car to rotate a little better.
Yeah.
Most of my local tracks are on the tighter side of things.
So the car rotates a bit better, I assume?
Yeah. It rotates really well, maybe a little too well. It's on Nitron R3s. It has the full SPL catalog front and back, so everything is fully spherical. Has a KMP rear diff solid mount. It improves the geometry a little bit. Yeah, pretty much all the suspension bits that you can throw at one of these while keeping it stockish.
You're hiding a lot of performance under an OEM shell for sure. And then I see the AP Big Brake kit as well. So that's a 6-piston kit?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's the AP S6 kit. It's running the Endless MA45B pads.
Okay.
Pretty good modulation, I'd say. Interiors, two Recaro pole position seats.
Okay.
And a KMP quick release steering wheel.
That's awesome.
The stock wheel has a pretty large diameter, like a really big one, and really thick as well.
So you keep all your OEM functions with this, or how does that
aside
work?
from cruise control, you keep everything else.
That's awesome.
You have an option to have like more buttons, keep everything that's retaining all the controls. But I honestly don't straight drive it that much.
Yeah. Okay. I'm excited to see what this does, and I was talking to Ben earlier, and I feel like this car could be one of the fastest cars we've had and will have. What about engine modifications? Is there any tunes or anything like that?
Has a stage 1 off-the-shelf tune and catalyst downpipes. Otherwise, it's full stock hardware.
What do you think horsepower-wise we're making, if you had to guess?
I would say around like 450, 460 wheel.
Wow. Okay, so it's very healthy.
There'll be a big difference between this and the E46, main thing being aero, and this is much heavier. Big thing too is this is going to make gobs of torque, whereas the other cars or the other E46 is naturally aspirated 6-cylinder, so it definitely builds power a little bit later. And man, this car feels really good. It's actually stiffer than I expected it to be. The suspension is very, very impressive. Well, we're in kilometers an hour, so I have no idea how fast I'm going. So that's interesting. That's kind of funny. I've never driven a car in kilometers. We don't know what that is around here, but I'll figure it out.
The beginning of Kobe's first hot lap in the M2 competition shows him just how torquey a tuned BMW S55 engine is.
The car in. Man, this car is just instant power, instant torque immediately. This is crazy. Even at 90, 100 miles an hour, the rear end just wants to step. So get a good feel for this street ABS again. Completely different car, much heavier. So we'll roll a higher gear there next lap, just to keep the spiciness down a little bit. Man, this thing will blow the tires off in fourth. This is nuts. There we go, get the car slowed. Everything happens much faster in this car. Holy cow, it's quick. Big jump from the E46 from a power standpoint. Goodness gracious. Little dancy under braking, but we can go deeper for sure. There we go, get down to the brake zone, get the car turned in, add your power, try not to blow the tires off. There we go. We're gonna roll fourth here this lap, just because she likes to take those rear tires off. Much better, much more speed there. Down to third. This thing just takes the rear tires right off. Holy cow. You have to be on edge driving this car. Woo! There we go. Oh my goodness, this thing is crazy, man. It's like wrestling a bull. Down to third, get the car stopped up into Oak Tree, get it turned, we're on a great lap, don't blow the tires off, get the power, there we go, there we go. Man, this is a lot of fun to drive, holy cow. Get the pad set. Get her turned, go. I have to upshift so quickly in this car just to keep the rear tires under it. It's pretty nuts. Even at these hog pen speeds, which should be 80 or 90 miles an hour, we're sideways. Holy cow, this thing's fun to drive. Do one more lap.
Kobe's got almost everything out of the M2, but he sees a few more tenths on the table and decides to go for it. He may regret that.
Go. Holy cow, that was almost really bad. I'm done. We're gonna go in, bleed these rear tires off, because I think it's tires more than anything. We're good. When you lose the rear end at 100 miles an hour and catch it, you take a break.
Love it. It's a lot of fun. You have to, my heart rate is probably 8 million right now because I about died in 10, but other than that, we're good. These cars are so torquey. The second you add that power, you just have to be ready for it, and which I was, but it just, I guess the tires are so hot that it finally just blew it off.
There's no wheelbase in these cars.
No.
The wheelbase is so short.
Yeah.
The good thing is it has a lot of steering angle for...
Oh, it does. Yeah, it does. Overall, it's a freaking blast. I like it a lot.
The rain came to cool Kobe off after that close call, and soaked the racetrack at the same time.
So we are here with my friend Levi and my friend James. As you can tell behind us, we have two very similar cars. They're both BMW M3s, but they're from different generations.
This is a 2009 E92 BMW M3.
Yep.
Classic V8. I don't know that we're gonna see many more of these come around, but I have the car tuned up to about 460 horse.
Okay.
And about 400 torque to kind of make up for some of the low end torque that's missing typically on these cars.
But it is still naturally aspirated, correct? You didn't add any forced induction?
That's correct. There are no turbos. The airbox is OEM. I have an Alpine tune that pushed it up to 460.
Awesome.
The only other mods on this car are Mach Schnell and Meisterschaft pipes and exhaust. So it is straight piped, which means it's super loud and exciting.
So it'll be rowdy. And what do these rev to, typically?
This revs out to about 8,700, I think.
Holy cow. Yeah, so you don't hear that anymore at all.
You really
and
don't.
So the number one issue with these cars, though, is the rod bearings, correct? Isn't that something that people replace typically?
That
but
is.
Other than that, they seem pretty darn reliable.
Yeah, these are very stout cars. Rod bearings have been done. Throttle actuators are another one. This is a DCT. I can go from 7th to 2nd gear going into turn 1 here at VIR as fast as my fingers can move.
I've actually not really driven one of these ever. I'm very familiar with the DCT. Absolutely love it. I was a big anti-automatic guy growing up, but BMW has knocked these out of the park. On the total opposite end of the spectrum, we now have an inline-6 twin-turbo BMW. Give us a little rundown of these. What kind of horsepower do these make versus the E90s?
I think it's about 430 horsepower and pretty similar torque.
Okay.
So these are the big differences. The twin-turbo engine's so much more torquey than this car. So James is right that is the E92 has a much more visceral driving experience with that high revving V8. But the torque here is just kind of, it's a lot.
This one, though, is stock, correct? Or does it have a
Yeah,
tune?
we're on stock tune. I do rent this car out, so the idea of giving more power to renters seemed like maybe a bad idea. Renegade Race Rentals is this business that I started. I rent this car, but we're also kind of a broker, so we have a lot of cars on the website where you can find a car anywhere from Watkins Glen all the way down to Barber. So we work with a lot of partners to just make it easier to rent cars.
And so, but the only thing you have on this car, I believe it's similar to James, it's just basically track pads and fluid, correct?
Yeah, pads, fluid, we're a little bit lower on H&R springs, and really that's all I've had to do with the car. It doesn't overheat, it doesn't, it just goes all day.
And then it's on, what, Falcons, I believe?
Yeah, we're on a Zenith RT660 today.
Okay, great. That's a super popular tire. So I'm super excited to try both these out. We have a high revving monster versus a torque monster from the same manufacturer.
We send Kobe out first in the E92 because with the track still damp, the Hankook Ventus V12 tires on the car will deal best with water dissipation.
Holy cow, this thing sounds so good.
Unfortunately, Kobe quickly finds a little tech gremlin.
All right, well, our paddles aren't working, so I maybe should have asked him about that. All right, well, I guess I'm just gonna paddle shift it like a supercar, and we'll be good. This thing is very quick though. I was not expecting it to be this fast. There we go, we're down the hill. This seat is so hard to stay in compared to the others because it's just a stock seat. Down to third. Woo! Still a little moisture on the track. We're good though. Still really wet in the curbing, and that's the fastest way around the track, unfortunately, so we need to be careful. That curbing seems dry now, which is what we need. I'm just not sure how dry this exit curbing is, and it can definitely kill you if you're not careful. Up into Oak Tree. Try and get it down to second. That might be too low of a gear. Let's see. Yeah, third's probably faster there, so we'll try that next lap. Man, this car is way faster than I thought it would be. thing's crazy. You really have to drive the piss out of this car, man, and wring its neck. Here we go, get down to the corner. Add the power, it's a little wet. Man, that curbing is so bad. I will not be doing that again next lap. Holy cow. So the moisture fills in the cracks on the curbing, and then you're stuck. Because the second you get out on it, you lose all that mile per hour. The tires will speed up, spin up, etc. So you gotta be careful. Man, this thing is a freaking riot. Obviously, with some proper suspension, it would be much different. I think these struts are just probably a little worn out from age. The right rear is very soft, so right here into the S's, the car takes a really nasty pitch when you initially turn in, and it's very uneasy, very scary, but the engine is just perfection. It sounds so dang good. And it's intoxicating, and it's freaking awesome, man. And it's just fun to hear that thing scream like that this whole lap. But yeah, if we went with a little bigger tire to refresh the suspension, this thing would be a complete animal. But it takes the cake for one of the best sounding cars I've ever driven, period.
The track is a bit more dry, and Kobe heads right back out in the E92 successor, the F80 M3.
Adjust these bolsters a little bit, get them nice and tight against me. There we go, that's better. And we're gonna start rolling power, here we go. Down to the apex, add the power. So this has a lot of torque like the M2 does, but it's more manageable because it is stock power. So I will say that's the first thing I noticed. Man, this thing is so stable at speed. Oak tree, get a good exit, get to the apex, go. Yeah, there it is. Perfect. Man, this car is so balanced and feels so good for a bone stock car. I'm very impressed. I've always been a Camaro guy, and feeling this, I like it a lot. Very balanced. Get turned in, and down the hill we go. Top of third, drop it in, eyes up, back to power. There we go, we're gonna do one more flyer. There we go, best 10 yet. Get up to Oak Tree, don't blow it. Don't overslow it. Back to power, full power, full power, full power. Go, 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 go. There it is. There it is. It's gonna be a really good lap. Really good lap. There we go, back to power, back to power, back to power. There we go, trying to finish the lap strong. It should be decent. Well, I don't think we're gonna do any better than that. That was a lot of fun. This car is very, very balanced and just kind of does everything you tell it to. I will say my biggest surprise is just how much more tolerant it is with torque management when it's not tuned. So the M2 with the same motor tuned is much harder to drive under power than this is. So it makes it very difficult to drive quickly. Whereas this car, the torque isn't near as bad to manage, and so it's not too bad at all. It's a lot of fun. It's definitely much easier to drive a stock car than it is a tuned one, for sure. The tuned one still makes so much torque you can just blow the rear tires off.
All right, Kobe. I'm here, so it means it's the end of the video.
Yep, another episode done and dusted.
Yeah, and boy, what a reliable episode. I don't even have to knock on wood because we're done shooting.
That's
all the
true.
cars worked. Chase had to go home because he had to pick his son up from school, so he had to dip early. But Chase, thank you very much. Thank you to all of the drivers that came out and let us use their cars. Jim came down with his M2 all the way from Ontario. It was like a 12-hour drive, like the most absurd thing I've ever seen. Thank you so much to Jim, thank you to Levi, thank you to James, and thank you to Chase. Guys, we couldn't have made the video without you. And a big shout out to Private Driving Events. They're the event organizers that put this on, and for not that much more money than you would pay to go to a regular HPD, you can go to one of their events and have a capped attendance of 40 drivers, no run groups, which means you can get like as much seat time as your car will allow with open passing and advanced drivers only. Let's go through the from slowest to fastest today, I think.
Yep.
Like we could probably guess that the E90, considering stock suspension, considering street tires, considering we put it out in the sketchiest session because I was kind of hoping that you would drift it because it would be really awesome to have that exhaust and drifting.
Yeah.
This was the slowest one today.
Correct. So the E90 ran a 2:12.3. So not terrible. I will say my biggest surprise of this car was how fast it is in a straight line.
Yeah.
Because people joke online all the time and say these are dogs, like slow.
Right.
And he's got a tune in it, and you're like, okay, yeah, whatever, makes a little bit more horsepower. But it was freaking quick, and it almost did 150 miles an hour here, which is fast.
That's
for
very
VIR.
fast. Very fast.
So that was the most shocking part of this car for me. So better tires, make sure the struts are decent. It would be in decent contention, probably much closer to the E46 than it was.
Yeah. So E46, I guess, is in third place.
Yep, E46 ran a 207 flat. That is the only car I have a traffic excuse on, was way up on the relative and caught some cars in Oak Tree.
Yeah.
But it wouldn't have done really any better than probably a low 206.
Yeah.
So, but to me, that was still very, very quick for what it was.
Yeah.
Like I said, car was extremely planted. Very, very, very confidence inspiring in the high speed, and just overall very, very easy to drive and comfortable to drive. And it was also the most neutral feeling to pushy. So the E46 definitely understeered more than the others.
So 207 flat, and that was the only car on slick tires.
Correct. It was on the Toyo R's, which are an older slick, but yes, it's a slick tire.
Yeah.
But I would say with today's technology, it's probably the same as the RE71RSs and the Falcon RT660s.
Okay.
I feel like it's probably in that same ballpark.
Like
so it's a decent comparison.
200 treadwear.
Yep. Okay. Yeah, a new 200 treadwear is probably just as fast, if not quicker.
Now, watching from the sidelines, I could not tell if the M2 was going to be faster or the M4 was going to be faster because both of them looked like you were ripping.
Yeah. Yeah.
So which one went faster?
The M2.
Wow.
The M2 went about 2 seconds faster.
The little baby car went faster than the big brother.
Yep, it did. The M2 was a 2017, and then the M3 was a 2035.
Wow.
So about exactly 2 seconds, essentially.
Yeah, that's very close.
Yep, and I will say though, the F80 definitely was more confidence inspiring in the high speed.
Okay.
And I think a lot of it has to do with that wheelbase on the M2. It's hard to settle a car is that short.
Yeah.
And I don't know, maybe it's a little bit of setup, but who knows. The F80 is very easy to go very fast in my opinion.
The only question is, which car would you like to own the most, like as a track car? Like, which one was the most fun?
Oh gosh, I would say I would really like to see the M3 with the same goodies the M2 has, and then we'll talk.
The
I
F80?
think, yes, I think the F80 with the same goodies this had would be a weapon, and I think the wheelbase may actually help it.
Yeah.
And so I would love to see that. And now a dad, so the F80 is probably gonna have to be the choice, and a little bit more backseat room.
It's
for
the only
little
four-door.
man. Yeah. But no, it was awesome. Both cars were super good, and it's just crazy how torquey those BMW motors are.
Thanks very much for watching, guys, and stay tuned. We've got more track tested coming very soon, and I'm really excited for what you get to drive next. I think you're gonna pee your pants a little bit.